This is the story of the Caring Cottage. Brenda DiMartino was a 46-year-old single woman. She had never been married and never had any children. When she was in her 20s, this felt devastating to her, but as time went on, she adjusted well to a free lifestyle where she could come and go as she pleased and spend every penny she made on the one person she loved the most, herself. Brenda moved from New York City to New Fairfield, Connecticut when she was in her 30s. She had made the decision to stop working for someone else and begin working for herself. While Brenda never had any children, she did have a love for them. But even more so, she really had a love of money. During her time in the city, she was a private nurse for well-off families that wanted in-home care. She would work when she was needed, decline jobs if she wanted to travel, and always knew she would have clients waiting when she got back. Brenda was extremely liked amongst the community she worked for because of her discretion. She never told the patients names or illnesses. She never discussed the celebrities she had helped detox or the teen stars she helped recover after a secret birth. Now, Brenda didn't care for the small sums of money that could be offered to her by tabloids. She knew there was more money in her work, and even more money coming when she planned to open the Caring Cottage. Brenda purchased a large home that was hidden by the surrounding acreage. It had 8 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, a large kitchen, a dining room, 3 separate living rooms, and 4 small office spaces. The realtor was surprised that a single woman needed such a large home, or how she could even afford it. She asked if she had a large extended family or if she was interested in turning the home into a vacation rental. Brenda responded with something like that, and the discussion was over. Within weeks of moving in, Brenda had the bedrooms set up, the house fully furnished, the bathrooms retiled, and the office spaces turned into hospital rooms. Brenda wasn't planning to care of sick people in her home, only well ones and well-off ones at that. She began a quiet business as a home for the wealthy to drop off their pregnant teen daughters. Upon arrival, she would make their stay as comfortable as possible, with every lush amenity they could ask for a fee, of course. She charged $150,000 per teen to be housed and cared for during their pregnancies and to find the babies the right homes after birth. All with the utmost discretion so that no one ever knew these families had come to such predicaments. She would have the rich and famous dropping their daughters off from all over the globe. These families tended to come to Brenda because there was always a question of it was better to have the baby or not, and often it ended in moral conflict, with the girls taking a vacation to Brenda's luxurious home. If math is not your forte, Brenda had 7 empty rooms, and at $150,000 per teen, she was bringing in over $1 million a year. All in cash because these families could afford to pay the hefty sums under the table. Every guest signed disclosures and agreements on privacy and discretion and respecting the privacy of other guests. The families would claim their daughters were off to Europe for the school year, immersing themselves in a new experience, and no one outside of the small secret society would be any wiser. The problem with Brenda was the greed. She was so greedy and money-hungry. Enough was never enough, and thus began her downfall. She would take the babies from the mothers after birth, the moms would sign away their rights, and Brenda would find the perfect home. AKA, she was selling the babies on the black market to families that couldn't have their own and didn't want to wait years on the lists of national adoption agencies. None of the birth mothers knew this at the time. She sold each baby for $100,000. If math still isn't your forte, that's another $700,000, on top of the millions she was making from the families of the teens. Brenda was raking in close to $2 million a year. She would try to turn down families so she could vacation or travel, but they'd offer her even more money to be home and care for their daughters, so of course, she said yes and made up for the lost adventures by buying herself lavish goods. But on the 14th year of housing these girls, she ran into her first real issue. A baby was born with disabilities. This was not something that had ever occurred in the Caring Cottage. The family that intended to purchase the baby backed out, and demanded a refund while they waited for a perfect baby to be born. She couldn't find another family to place the baby with, even with weeks of searching and offering the baby at a discounted price. Brenda didn't know what to do, but she was the baby's sole caretaker now. She never wanted children of her own, so she found an angel box at a firehouse on the other side of the state, and one night, she dropped the baby off under the cover of darkness. You would think her heart would hurt a little bit, but no. It didn't seem to, at least not by the sigh of relief that she was seen giving on the security camera. In her haste, Brenda dropped no paperwork with the baby and didn't disguise herself or her car. She was easily tracked because of her distinct gold Rolls-Royce. The Department of Child and Family Services showed up to her house with police the following week. They had questions about where the baby came from and why she dropped it off so hastily. But during their visit, a guest had gone into labor, and every alarm possible went off for DCFS and the police. They quickly took down the baby ring. Brenda was arrested on so many charges it's exhausting to list. But she now lives in a tiny 2-person cell in a filthy women's prison with no luxuries, no comfort, and no money. Everything was seized by the state, and even if she ever gets out of prison, her reputation is done for. Her name was in every paper, every magazine, every online article. Even the names of her clients who were in the house at the time of the crash were named. Her life as she knew it is over. Enjoy the jumpsuit, Brenda.